G'day guys, welcome back to Living with BC. I'm Ben. Today we're going to have a chat about my latest read, Queen of Storms by Raymond Feist. Look, didn't like this one, didn't enjoy it at all. It's going to be more of a rant than a review if I'm honest with you, but it's all my opinion. And if you look at reviews online, you'll quite clearly see that I am definitely in the minority. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. I do want to preface this and say that Raymond Feist used to be my favourite author. I was given a copy of Magician when I was 12 or 13, loved it, went on to read almost every other book he's ever written. I was really excited when the Firemane saga was announced because I thought the last sort of 6 to 8 of his previous novels were really lacking, and it almost felt like he would retire, to be honest. But then this series was released and I thought, okay, maybe he was just tired with the old one and this new series will be a breath of fresh air. Sorry to say that's not the case. But look, without further ado, let's just get into it. Actually, before we start, I'm going to need a coffee for this one. Alright guys, got my chocky bickies, got my coffee, we are good to go. Let's get into it. So the characters in this book are somehow even less interesting than they were in the first novel, King of Ashes. They're seemingly the only people in the world who know how to do anything at all, and the only ones who can give instructions to anyone. Sure, in some ways it makes sense, but when it happens all the time, I started thinking to myself, like, is this entire world just filled with dimwits and our main characters and a couple of their close friends are the only ones who can string a thought together? Whenever a character does something or says something that someone's not expecting, they just quickly chime in like, I travelled a lot. And then the other person's like, oh yeah, sure, that explains why you know this thing that you shouldn't know. I think it's cheap and lazy, personally, and it happens a lot. So you're just like, yeah, cool, I bet you they're going to use the excuse, I travelled a lot, as a way to explain this thing, or how they know something so young, or how they know something that they maybe shouldn't know. In the case of Declan, it's pretty obvious to see when you read through the story that Raymond Feist wants this guy to be his version of kind of, let's say, Alexander the Great. Like, he's going to be the greatest swordsman, the greatest soldier, the greatest military tactician, a real born leader of men. The problem with that is, in the end of the last book and the beginning of this book, Declan's kind of set up for life. He runs a blacksmith in a small town where he's presumably the only blacksmith in town. He's scored a government contract with the barony to make weapons for them, so he's presumably making money hand over fist. He's got his own place. He's got a girl he's about to marry. He's living with his best mate and his girl. He's about to take on an apprentice, or he's thinking about it at least. His other mate runs the pub, so he can go and have beers with his mate every night if he wants to. Like, it's, you know, he's kind of like tick, 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 tick. He's set up for life. Why would you go and leave all that to be some sort of soldier or warrior and potentially die? It doesn't make any sense. And you can almost see the author sitting there just being like, shit, I didn't think that through properly, did I? Fuck it, I'll fucking kill them all. And that's what he does. He sends raiders to the town. They burn the town to the ground. They burn his workshop, they burn the pub, they burn his house, they kill his wife, they kill his mate, they kill his mate's girlfriend, they kill pretty much everyone that they know, so that he can then go on some cliched revenge arc to kill the people that killed his wife, and throughout that process he will become the world's greatest warrior. I would say it's boring, but it's not so much boring as just lazy. Like, he's set up this guy in a very specific way. Potentially he's changed his mind as what he wants his character arc to be. I don't know. But that's what it seems like. He wanted him heading in one way, and then halfway through he's like, no, I want him to do this instead. But now he's got this predicament of, how do I make that happen? So he just quite messily kills everyone, so he doesn't have to deal with the side characters and their plot. And then he's free to now do what he wants. And then he's obviously fueled by revenge, so that spurs him on and gives him motivation and dedication towards his task. I didn't buy it. I actually read a review that mentioned that this book doesn't suffer from second book syndrome, whereby the plot is drawn out and it's filled with filler, and I completely disagree. I don't think I've ever come across a more mundane, drawn-out plot in my entire life. This book should have been half the size and twice as exciting. And it seems to be a trend, where especially in fantasy, where we see big sweeping sagas that cover 4 and 5 and 6 books, that people will take an idea and they'll stretch it out. And it's like, just because there are sagas that have multiple books in them doesn't mean your story justifies it. This novel does not justify being 500 pages. And combined with the first one and now this one, they could have been put into one book and made one really good book, and then I imagine probably one other really good book. So you've got a duology. But for some reason they're going to drag it out. I imagine it's going to fit into about 4 by the time they're done. But a lot of it is just fluff. We've got Hava, who is supposed to be this secret cool spy assassin chick. She kicks ass, she takes names. Honestly, she just ends up pining after Hatu. He gets abducted somewhere, around the middle of the book, more or less. And she just kind of chases after him. That's her story arc. Like, she was a pretty well-developed, relatively well-fleshed out character in the first book. But in this one, she just chases after him. She ends up getting captured, and she is potentially going to be a slave. And then they kind of overthrow the slavers on the ship, which is always believable. Look, I don't know. It's just really poorly done, I think. Like, she somehow leads a revolt with a bunch of townsfolk and peasants who are all going to be slaves, and they attack the pirates on the ship. And then, of course, conveniently, there's going to be a bunch of people who are like, oh, yeah, I didn't really like working for the guys I was working for, so I'll work for you instead. It's like, oh, that's great, isn't it? Now you've got like a decent crew of sailors who can help you sail this ship. How convenient is that? What were you going to do if they didn't do that? What were you going to do if you had to kill them all? Like, I don't know. Things like that, I'm just like, oh, does this actually happen? Like, maybe it does, but it seems too easy for me. And then whenever things seem too easy, it takes away from the character's struggle, because they didn't really then struggle. Like, I don't look at her story arc as a struggle. I look at it as if, okay, she got unlucky, she got captured, but then she got helped out by a bunch of people. So where is her effort in any of this? Hatu, as I mentioned before, gets abducted roughly halfway through the book, spends most of the time drugged and unconscious. I guess the people that abduct him, they're good guys, by the way. They abduct him because they don't think that he will come willingly, and they need to take him to a place called the Sanctuary, which probably sounds really cool, but we don't know anything about it because we just spend the entire book traveling to the Sanctuary. Anytime Hatu asks anybody any question about his lineage or his special fire main powers, he just gets the response of, yep, I know you want to know some answers, but we're going somewhere, someone will be able to give you some answers. And he seems to accept that, and then the next day he'll be like, hey, I still don't know anything. Like, can you give me some information? And they're like, yep, I understand. You're obviously really frustrated. We're going somewhere, someone will be able to get you some answers. It's like, well, for fuck's sake, can we get there already? How about we quit the stupid sailing across the world journey and just get to where we need to go? Because that's what we want to know. That also calls to a point a bit with the map and the geography. Obviously, you've got the map in the beginning, but that only has the main continents. And we travel to a number of different places in this book that aren't mapped out. So it's very difficult to really see where your characters are going. Once they leave that main continent, you're like, yep, they're somewhere in the middle of the ocean. Couldn't tell you where. And the author lists a dozen different places that they stop along the way, or they could potentially stop along the way. And I have no idea where these places are because they're not listed on the map. There's quite a few things where it's pretty obvious to see in this book that the author has just put in there so that we know that he knows this piece of information. But I guess it comes to a point for me where I just sort of saw it as really unnecessary when Harva's on the ship and she's just taken over the ship and there's still some bad guys, still some pirates kicking around, gonna do some stabby. I'm paraphrasing here, but she goes to a couple guys, you and you go stand over by that ladder, and if anyone comes through the door, kill them. And the guys are like, I don't see a ladder. What are you talking about? And she's like, guys, I meant the stairs. Stairs on a ship are called a ladder. I don't know why they are. They just are. Look, is that interesting? Maybe. I didn't know stairs on a ship were called a ladder. I would have just called them stairs. But is it relevant to the story? No, it's not relevant to the story at all. What are you going to do? Call a timeout? Bad guys in there. Don't come out and stab us in the face right now. I'm trying to pass on this useless piece of information to these guys where it doesn't change their task in any way, shape or form. You're still getting them to stand by the door and kill anyone that comes out. So does it matter whether you refer to it as stairs or a ladder? Regardless of whether or not the term ladder is more technically correct, is it relevant at this moment in time? To be very clear about that. No, it's not. And for anyone that might say, well, this shows how experienced she is because she's been on a ship and she knows that stairs on a ship are called a ladder. It's like, yes, but she also knows that the people she's with are peasants and townsfolk and don't know anything about ships. So if you want to show her experience, you'd actually just have her say stairs because it's quicker and more efficient and they will know what she's talking about. And then another seaman might be like, hey, it's actually called a ladder. And she'll be like, yeah, I know, but they don't know that. And I'm wasting time telling them about stairs on a ship being called a ladder and referring it to a ladder. I just need them to get there and stab anyone that comes out that door. That's what I need. That's the key information right now. I'll educate them later on this fact that stairs on a ship are called a ladder. So really, it's just the author wanting us to know that he knows that stairs on a ship are called a ladder. And I don't care about that. It doesn't enhance the story in any way, shape or form. And the fact that I've been ranting about it for about 60 seconds shows it significantly detracts it, at least in my opinion. There were books written by Feist years ago where he got quite technical with things, but it was relevant to the story. It wasn't just knowledge for the sake of knowledge. In this case, it just feels like just inputting knowledge for the sake of knowledge. It doesn't develop character, it doesn't further the plot, it's just information for the sake of information. And when this book is full of filler already, it's annoying. Honestly, guys, there's so many things I could rant about with this book. There's far too many that are too difficult for me to just talk about to a camera. I'd need like a whole crew of actors and we'd act it out and you'd be like, yeah, that's stupid. That sounds like a dumb thing to read about. Because it was dumb to watch you act it out. It's going to especially be dumb to read about it. But because I don't have a cast of actors, I don't know how to give you those pieces of information. So there's a lot that I'm leaving out of this review. Oh yeah, one thing I did want to chat to you guys about was chapter titles. I don't know what it is with Feist and his chapter titles, but it also happened in the Midgemia series. There's just no effort put into them whatsoever. Hunting and an unexpected encounter. I'll give you one guess what happens in that chapter. An unplanned event and a surprise reunion. More mysteries and a short journey. Seriously, I can't make this shit up. Like, frankly, I'd rather just chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. That would be better for me. Alright guys, that's all I've got for you. If I keep talking about this book, I'll just get angrier and angrier that it made it to print in this condition. And I'll just keep going round and round in circles, which is effectively what Raymond Feist did with his plot here. So I'm going to end it here. If you like the video, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time. As always, stay cool.